2017 Honda Civic collision, getting the condenser replaced. But what else do you see when you look at that condenser? We all know Honda has the extended warranty. It should be a recall, but they put it a extended warranty on the condensers leaking. And as you can see, these are the telltale signs of the oil leaks. All these little shaded areas, and that's a big one right there. And no, there's no stone damage at the points. I have another video I haven't released yet with somebody who put some dye in it looking for it before they take it back to Honda, because they took it to Honda, they put this dye in it that they bought off the internet, and Honda told them the refrigerant was contaminated because of the can they used from a third party over the internet on a name most of you will never hear of. And I tested the refrigerant and it's true, it is contaminated. It has other refrigerants mixed in with it, and I used my other refrigerant. I used 2 refrigerant identifiers, and Honda used their refrigerant identifier, and all 3 of our refrigerant identifiers say the refrigerant is mixed and contaminated. So here's another one, but this is not in a no warranty. The customer probably doesn't even know his air conditioning doesn't work good because it slowly went down in level, and we live in a relatively mild climate here in San Francisco. If he doesn't drive out of San Francisco most of the year, he won't even know he could have a half charge of refrigerant. So let's zero out the scale. So we zero it out. Let's make sure it works. It works. And let's open up the refrigerant passage to the recovery unit. And I have it in recovery mode. Recovery mode, it's on, it's hooked up, it's open there. I just don't have it opened here. As you can see, it's pulling into the micron range because this is already pulling, but the valves are not connected to the system. So now I'll connect the valve to the system. And there we go. We can hear something going, and we could see the refrigerant moving, and we could see it already going down pretty fast. Okay. And let's get the other one hooked up so I can read the other side. But what I'll do is I don't want to pull to the liquid side because I don't want to pull liquid refrigerant out with oil. So I just want to look at it, see what the pressure is. When it gets down, it's already low. Okay, I could open it up. At this pressure on the liquid side, I know there's no liquid in here, so I'm pulling vapor. I don't worry about pulling out oil. So let's open it back up. I am now pulling through high side and low side, going down to the recovery machine, filling up, and we are at, we just got vapor. Am I not putting it in here? Yeah, I got that. Oh, yeah, I got it in there. This thing just has vapor. We're down there. Okay, so let's watch this. Okay, so let me get this down there so you can read it. Is it working? Did I make a mistake? No, it's working. So that was just vapor in there, and it had enough pressure to run. So I'm going to put this in the vapor recovery mode. So now it's in the vapor recovery mode. Once you drop below a certain level and you know you're not going to pull in any liquid, you can put it in the vapor recovery mode. So now that I have it in the vapor recovery mode, and I'm really going down there, but what I'm going to do right now, I'm still not finished, but just to show you, I'm going to clear out the condenser where it condenses that vapor into a liquid and force it out into here to give us some weight. So this is the recovery of the unit itself, where it purges the refrigerant out of the unit and then into the unit, not just vapor. So here we go. Now we're there. Now we're getting something. So this is a very low system, which was really obvious. Okay, so it's going to steady out here pretty soon because it's all it has in the condenser, and there it goes. Really slow. You can see it's kind of slowing down. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the vapor mode so I can pull more, because it lowered the pressure and it lowered the temperature, and so some of the liquid refrigerant is actually trapped under the oil. Even though I am in a micron level there, I want to go back and pull out more. So let's get it out of the purge mode, put it back into recovery. I'm already in the vapor mode, so I'll keep on pulling out what I can pull out and just let it do its thing for a few minutes. And that's it. Another Honda mode. This condenser will be replaced and it'll have a full charge, and the customer will have air conditioning better than they did before. Not, and this is a clutched Honda. This one does have a clutch on it. You can get your fingers up there and actually you have a clutch that you can spin. And what I want to look for, if the technician is around who's going to pull this one off, I want him to pull this one off in front of me. I'll take videos. When you run this low on refrigerant, your compressor starts overheating. And the refrigerant that's left in there, there's not enough mass and it's only vapor. It comes back to the compressor and it goes through the compressor and it picks up some oil and it spits it out. It kind of like travels with the refrigerant and it stays up into evaporator. The oil falls out of suspension because when it goes from that small tube to the small orifice into a big tube, the refrigerant goes through and then slows down. The heavy oil particles, molecules, fall out of suspension and cling to the sides, the pipes, and the lower part of the evaporator and stay down as the vapor refrigerant travels out of in suspension and travels past the oil and doesn't carry it back out back to the compressor. So the compressor starts starving for oil and cooling. That's what subcooling, superheat, sorry. That's what superheat's all about, is bringing you back some extra refrigerant to do some cooling of the mechanical friction and compression, the heat developed by the compressor to get rid of that. But as you run low, you run out of that, so that's how you get overheated. So when this comes off on the high side right here, it should be bright, shiny, and clean like the day it was machined. But when we pull it out and look inside there, if it's gray, that means the compressor really got hot. And that tells you some damage, it might be working, some damage has already occurred, because that's the only way you get that grain like that. And if you really want to get severe, you pull out the desiccant here, pull out the tab, up here, pull out the tab, pull up the sock, and you'll see it's black, and you might see small metal particles in it. Then you know something happened. It hasn't failed yet, but something happened. But you got to remember, your condenser, it goes through here a couple passes before it gets to the filter and the sock. And the microchannel is your first filter. These openings, the orifices in each one of these flat tubes going on is so small, this actually becomes your first line of defense as a filter. It actually filters out, and some of the particles get stuck inside here, and then they get stuck in the chambers as they go back and twirl around without ever passing through. So sometimes you could see a nearly clean sock and filter over here, but the debris is all stuck up here, and a lot of guys don't understand that. They say, well, I blew my hose through it and I got a lot of blowing out of it, so it's okay. No, what it did was the air passed through the openings that were open and were not clogged and blew out on your hand, not through the ones that were clogged. And this is where a lot of issues come into play. All right, let's find out what happens after I pull that. We know we're really low here. Put it back on the purge. And this complete system capacity on this one is 375 to 425 psi. Grams, and we get 140 out of it. So Honda did another good job here of making sure somebody needs a condenser, but he's kind of lucky he got into the accident. Hopefully there's no damage to the compressor.